Democrats on the Senate Judiciary Committee dropped an interesting chestnut just ahead of the holidays. We now have reporting on two more undisclosed trips gifted to Justice Clarence Thomas by Texas billionaire Harlan Crow. After a 20-month investigation into ethics practices at the Supreme Court, Democrats on the committee released a 93-page report with 800 pages of supporting documents. In addition to the trips that have already been made public, two new trips were revealed. Conservative mega donor Harlan Crow flew Justice Thomas from Nebraska to New York in July of 2021. And just months later, Crow hosted Thomas on his yacht after supplying the justice with a private flight between D.C. and New Jersey. Now, Justice Thomas did not disclose these trips even after resubmitting some of his financial forms. The Senate Judiciary Committee only learned about them after threatening to subpoena Harlan Crow. Back with me is Melissa Murray, NYU law professor and host of the Strict Scrutiny podcast. And we are joined by Mark Joseph Stern, who is a senior writer for Slate Magazine. It's great to have you both here, Mark and Melissa. We've been talking about Harlan Crow and Justice Thomas. It's the buddy comedy that just will not end. I got to ask, Mark, the fact that Justice Thomas did not feel the need to disclose these after he had to resubmit his financial disclosure forms, what does that tell you about the code of ethics at the Supreme Court? And is anything ever going to change here?
It tells me that the alleged code of ethics doesn't really exist for all intents and purposes. It's a series of suggestions that cannot even be rounded up to a true code. And Justice Thomas will continue to flout it with impunity unless and until it's given real teeth. I think there's a reason why Justice Elena Kagan did a little bit of a lecture tour where she said repeatedly, we should have an enforceable ethics code. It's her own colleague on the bench who's showing the problem of putting out some suggestions and saying, good luck, guys, hope you follow it. But I have to say what bothers me the most about this situation in particular is that Justice Thomas is a jurist who really shows no mercy for litigants who break the law, for criminal defendants especially, who holds them to the very tightest interpretation of the letter of the law. And yet when he himself breaks the law, as he did here by failing to disclose all of these lavish gifts and presents and trips, he declares himself through his intermediaries to be totally innocent, to be blameless. He's then given a do-over, and as the Senate Judiciary Committee revealed, still breaks the law, still withholds information about two trips that under federal statute he was required to disclose, and I guess to him it's no big deal. So, we hear a lot about a two-track justice system. I think there is one going on in Clarence Thomas's own mind where one class of people, indigent criminal defendants, they get no mercy, but he and rich, powerful people like him, maybe like Donald Trump too, they get an endless series of do-overs and mulligans because, of course, they must have acted with good intent.
Well, yeah, and it says something as we look towards the broader landscape of the incoming Trump administration about the power of billionaires, right? It's largely unchecked. This is what Dick Durbin had to say. He's the outgoing chair of the Judiciary Committee. He says, whether failing to disclose lavish gifts or failing to recuse from cases with apparent conflicts of interest, it's clear that the justices are losing the trust of the American people at the hands of a gaggle of fawning billionaires. I mean, you have Elon Musk in the executive branch, you have Harlan Crow in the judicial branch, you have untold billionaires working their way in the legislative branch. I mean, just give me your opinion on this sort of, I'm not going to call it an officially kleptocracy, but man, Melissa, this is deeply problematic on a number of levels when you look at the amount of money and the outsized influence it can buy.
Wouldn't we call it a kleptocracy? Maybe certainly an oligarchy gone amok for sure, Alex. This is basically the new Gilded Age that we are living in, and we've seen the effects of it. The Supreme Court overturned the Chevron doctrine last year, and there has been reporting from the New York Times that has made clear that that was a multi-year project funded by the conservative legal movement and the Koch brothers network, which has a true interest in corporate deregulation, in hobbling the administrative state, because administrative agencies issue regulations that often make it more costly costly for corporations to run because those regulations make it safer for consumers, but more expensive for corporations to make their products. It's not a surprise that the administrative state is under assault. It's a real problem for these oligarchs and corporations. And it's no surprise that the American people are losing faith in the court when they see these very cozy relationships between the Supreme Court justices and these oligarchs who sometimes function apparently as emotional support billionaires. And I think the really important point for the public to recognize is that putting pressure, examining this, being public about it all the time actually does work. In last month's sitting at the Supreme Court, Justice Neil Gorsuch recused himself because Accountable.us had published a report showing that he has very close ties with one of the amici who had filed a brief in the case before the court. That doesn't happen unless there's transparency and reporting and journalism and journalists who are willing to hold this court's feet to the fire. So when people say that you are making it hard for the justices or you are making things difficult for the judiciary, we're not making it difficult for the judiciary. We're making it easier for transparency and for justice.
Mark, it's such a, first of all, Melissa, but second of all, Mark, when you think about the judiciary and the road ahead, Trump is going to be able to appoint new justices. I think it's like, how many more? I think Joe Biden, at last count, had beaten the number of appointees that the number of judicial appointments that Donald Trump made in his first term by one. What is your expectation for the Trump administration, how aggressively they are going to try and fill seats in the federal judiciary and the, sort of class of judges we're talking about in terms of filling those seats, given how the Trump administration and conservatives have manipulated the federal courts to get conservative legislation either enacted or have managed to unwind liberal protections at the state level?
So I think we're about to see the most extreme and partisan slate of judicial nominees in history. And the reason why is because Trump experimented with appointing these hacks to the bench in his first term, people like Eileen Cannon and Matthew Kacsmaryk. They donned their robes and they engaged in the exact kind of egregious misconduct and outrageous decision-making that progressives warned about. And the public still saw fit to give Donald Trump a second term. And I fear that, as usual, the public is not drawing the correct lines of accountability between these outrageous decisions from the lower courts and the president who appointed the judges making those decisions. And so I think if you're Trump and you're, the appointees and advisors who are going to select these judges, you're thinking, I got away with it. I put the worst people on the bench. I put 33-year-old psychopaths on the bench, and the people of this country gave me a second term. The question will be, how low can he go? And with 53 Republicans in the Senate, I think the bar is really on the floor. So I think fearfully, I have to say, this will be worse than the first term. The people who will soon populate the benches in our lower courts are going to be judges in name only. They will emerge with an agenda. They will quickly execute it. And then after Trump is gone, after this nightmare is over, they will remain for years, for decades, continuing to stand in the way of every Democratic president and every Democratic Congress that exists for the next 40, 50 years, unless future Democrats decide to do something about it and reform the courts. So I think it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better. And Democrats who said that expanding the Supreme Court or imposing a real code of ethics or other reforms over the last 4 years, they're going to see just how bad the situation can get because they decided to unilaterally disarm, to reject the kind of hardball that Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump perfected, and we're all going to suffer the consequences.
Oh, wow. Okay, Mark Joseph Stern with a heavy dose of real talk this holiday season. Melissa Murray, thank you guys both for joining me. I know it's a crazy time of year, and I really appreciate the wisdom and the thoughts. Thank you, my friends.